But I have a question because I'm still young. Thanks. Have you ever looked at a teenager, somebody else's child, and wondered, who are this child's parents? Or even looked at your own teenager and thought, what happened to my child? I think somebody left their phone here and it's ringing.
Me, that's why I'm looking for it, sorry.
Yeah? So you're wondering, what happened to this child who once used to tell me everything? But now they only have one-word answers when I speak to them. This child wanted me to hold their hand, but now they don't want me to hug them when I drop them off at school. This child who wanted everything to look like mommy's handbag, mommy's shoes. And now when I make a statement about how they're dressed, they roll their eyes at me. Then what happens? We parents, we see this as a loss of control. And loss of control is interpreted by our brains as a threat. So we go into fight or flight mode. We are lecturing our children, we are directing them, we are advising them, we are grounding them, we are punishing them. And then we lecture some more. Or sometimes we just withdraw, we just give up. We say, this adolescent thing, I can't handle. Fight or flight. So there's a lot of conflict. And the more we lecture, the more they withdraw. So then there is a loss of connection. And this is actually one of the observations that led me to write my book. Unlocking Your Teenager's Potential, a coaching approach to parenting. And you might be asking yourself, why am I talking about parenting and this is a leadership workshop? Yeah? Because we are all successful leaders. We are succeeding as politicians. We are succeeding as business people, as corporate executives, and our homes are falling apart. We are complaining, at least in my country, where I come from. I'm going to introduce myself in a few seconds. We are complaining there's too much corruption. But we are bribing our children to behave. We are advising our young daughters and sons when they have issues in their marriages, but just talk to each other. But we've never taught them how to talk to each other. We don't allow them to talk to us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Jaki from Kenya. I actually arrived yesterday, thanks to an invitation from my little sister, Mercy. For the last 15 years or so, I have been coaching leaders, entrepreneurs, and corporate executives as they navigate change and growth, and many other transitions in life. But that's not what has brought me here today. I'm here today because of the work that I do with young people. When I first became a coach in 2010, my own children were just getting into adolescence. And I realized that the coaching skills that I had learned to use in my retirement came in very handy in my relationships with them. And so fast forward, I am now even coaching, training coaches specifically to work with adolescents and young adults. And my book is actually built on a very simple premise that our role as parents changes, evolves as our children mature. When they're young, we direct. I mean, we have to direct a 2-year-old. Don't run out there. Look left, look right. Otherwise, they could lose their lives. But the older they grow, the more we need to become less of managers of their behavior and more of partners in their growth. So what I'm saying is that we must learn how to coach. And I know there are many coaches in this room, and I think they will agree with me. And when I use the word coach, I'm not talking about people becoming passive. I'm not talking about permissiveness. I'm not talking about the erosion of all boundaries. It's not about letting your teenagers do whatever they want. I'm just saying that we need to learn how to create conditions under which young people can think, they can learn, they can decide. They can discover their own capabilities. Because coaches ask curious, powerful questions. Coaches listen. Coaches believe that whoever is sitting in front of them is whole and resourceful, and that they have a right to be in this world. And maybe the most important thing is that coaches believe that growth cannot be forced. It has to be facilitated. So in my book, I invite parents to shift from questions like, how do I make my teenagers behave, to how can I help my teenager become the person they are capable of becoming? And if you're sitting here and your children are 2 years old, 3 years old, you think, I don't need this, let me tell you, this is the right time. You're sitting here, you don't have children, or your children are already grown up and they've left home. Whatever you pick up from here might help somebody else's child. Who knows? It might help you. So what I want to encourage us is that we shouldn't focus only on behavior, that we focus on development, on developing character rather. Because if we focus on getting our teenagers to obey, to be compliant, we win today's argument, but we lose tomorrow's relationship. And we are seeing this happen. Because the truth of the matter is, our children are facing challenges that we didn't face. Every generation of parents is raising children for a future that we can only imagine. And so when we get to a situation where we allow our children to think that we know nothing, that we don't understand them, that we can't help them, we actually drive them into desperation because they also don't know. So what I'm inviting us is to, I think somebody asked in the previous session about the DISC program and whether it was personality or skills-based. And we are saying, yes, there are some things that you cannot change in a person, but there are some ways of doing things that can help a person change. And that's what I'm talking about. So our kids still need guidance, despite all the opportunities that they have today. They still need boundaries, and they do need values. So let's not give up on them. And a coaching approach will help us to provide all of these things. So my book explores practical ways for parents to listen more effectively, to communicate without constant conflict, to build trust, encourage responsibility and personal accountability, support decision-making, and create relationships where the teenagers or the adolescents feel both challenged and valued. At its heart, though, this book is not really about teenagers. It's about we, parents. Because parenting a teenager often requires us to grow as much as our children. We need to learn patience if we are not already patient. We need to think about humility. We need to let go of this notion that because I'm older than you, I know. And Dr. Swahili for doctor. Dr. Chireka here said, you don't know everything. However much of a doctor you are, or a professor you are, or however long you have lived, you don't know everything. So we need to let go of this idea that we know everything, that we know what the future holds for our children, because we don't. They're not God. Yeah? And we also need to trust the capabilities that we have spent years trying to nurture in our children. Yeah. About 5 years ago, my daughter was applying to go to university. And she was enamored by a college in a country that I will not name. And I was not for that at all, because I felt that she was underselling herself. She's very bright. I'm actually on my way to attending her graduation in Spain next week. And she has a 9.23 GPA. But she wanted to go to college. In my language, we say, aha college. You know that ha suggests something small, you know? And I was just like, you're really underselling yourself. But I let her make the application. Luckily, they could apply to up to 10 universities. So it was not the only application. But even before the application period ended, she received a letter. They had accepted her. They were giving her a full scholarship. And then I just said, okay, why don't you just wait and see what the other universities are going to say? Because now I was very worried that she was going to accept this offer. And once you have accepted the offer, all the other applications are cancelled in the system. But then I noticed something. She was talking to her brother. She was talking to her older brother. She was having conversations with her friends who are in the country where that college is situated. I think I even overheard a conversation with her academic advisor. And after a few days, she said, you know, Mom, I've decided I don't even want to go to that country because of A, B, C, D, E, etc., etc., etc. And then I realized something. She had been listening to me all those times when I said, don't rush into a decision. You know, talk to other people. Even if you're convinced of your own point of view, talk to other people because they might give you a different perspective. And this is what she was doing. And so she ended up at a different university in Spain, which I felt was more worthy of her, without my having to tell her anything about the fact that I thought that she was underselling herself. So this is what I'm inviting you to do. Trust yourself and trust that your children actually hear you when you speak to them. When you speak to them with... I know this can be difficult for we African parents to hear, but when you speak to our children with respect, you're not belittling them. You're not making them feel foolish. We are not taking out all the trauma that we face at the hands of our husbands or our wives, or that we faced at the hands of our own parents. So when I titled my book, Unlocking Your Teenager's Potential, I chose the word very deliberately, because potential is not something that we parents create. It's something that they come into the world with. And I hope that this book will help parents move beyond power struggles towards more purposeful conversations, beyond control towards conversations, and beyond managing behavior towards developing capable, confident young adults. Because ultimately, our success as parents is not measured by how obedient our children are, but how well they can thrive and contribute meaningfully to this world. Please take some time to come to the table and get yourself a copy. Thank you very much.